Hello, and welcome to Attunement. In this podcast, I, with the help of some of my powerful friends, will be exploring healing personal, intergenerational, and collective wounds, the side effects of oppressive power structures, activation of connection to spirit, oneness and awareness, and the intersectionality of it all. Let's connect the dots. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Attunement. My name is Lauren Jauregui, and I'm tuned in today with Solana Rice.
Hi, I'm Solana Rice. I'm co-executive director and co-founder of Liberation in a Generation, and we are a movement support organization. We're here to totally transform our economy by lifting up the leadership and the wisdom of people of color and organizers of color.
Yes. Beautiful, Solana. Thank you so much for being with me today, for joining us. But yeah, I just maybe want to dive in a little more into like what your vision is and what motivated you to start this beautiful organization and what drives your passion for what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. I mean, I'm excited for this conversation. I think when we connected earlier, it was just like, oh, that's the conversation I want to have with folks.
Mm-hmm.
So, I worked at a think tank. It was based in DC, and before that, I had worked at a national nonprofit organization. And I've always been concerned about racial equity, right? I grew up seeing a whole lot of homelessness in Cleveland, Ohio. But I also saw big mansions going up, and I never understood why we had such disparity. I never understood how that could possibly happen at the same time. So I went off to architecture school, and I was like, I'm going to be an architect. I'm going to figure out how to make sure people get a house. And then I was like, oh, that's not what architects do at all.
No, not at all. That's so cute. That's so innocent. Wow.
Yeah.
How cute.
Yeah.
I'm going to build houses for people.
Yeah, that's just me. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm about to do. And, a rude awakening in college. So, but I was still like, well, we have to build affordable housing. Somebody's got to do that. So I went off to graduate school and I studied city planning. And I was like, that's where people are making decisions about where housing goes and like who gets it, right? And so I sat down and I did my first, like what's called a pro forma. It's basically a budget to figure out like, it's a sample budget. How would you put together all this money to build this affordable housing? I said, oh no, this isn't it either. Because you need like 19 different sources of capital to put this stuff together. And you're still not really making the decisions, right? So fortunately, I started really thinking about like, well, the people that I know are struggling and they're working really hard. Like none of this stuff that we say is about the economy is really true for them, right? Oh, go get your education. That'll pay off. Oh, go get a job. That'll pay off. Like just the struggle was constant. The struggle was constant. And I still didn't, I was like, I'm still struggling. Where is the answer? Where should I find myself? And so I worked for a national organization focusing on racial equity. I worked with people in Detroit. I worked with people in Fresno. I worked with people in Atlanta, all over the country.
Dope.
Still didn't get my answer though. I was like, who's making these decisions about where this money
making
goes?
These decisions? What a conversation. Honestly, that's like a point of topic, very serious. Like keep going though. Keep going.
Yeah. So I turned to my colleague at the time. We were working at this national nonprofit. We were working to advance all kinds of policies at the state level, at the federal level. Good stuff. We were helping people, right? We were
reform.
helping people learn.
Immediate help, reform, quote unquote.
Exactly.
For those of you listening, I'm air quoting the word reform. Okay, just so you know, just so you're aware.
We were working on things like, oh, okay, we got to make this tax code a little bit better so people can get their earned income tax credit, things like that. If you're on public benefits, can you actually be able to save? In some states, you can't actually save money and be on public benefits at the same time, which, doesn't make sense.
It's like it's almost as if they want to keep us indebted to them. It's almost as if there are obstacles put in place for the working class to never
be able to do shit
You did.
besides work.
Exactly.
It's almost as if. It's almost as if.
Yeah. So I was like, wait, let me get this
Oh,
straight. So,
wait.
I'm talking
So
to
y'all
the
are doing this on purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wait. So y'all are like making this happen. This isn't just kind of casually happening. You're making it happen with your
You're
freaking
making
crazy
this
ass
happen.
laws.
And that was one of those ones where I was like, oh, this is all by design. And then you start thinking about all this stuff. And it's like, oh, this is all by design. And this is by choice.
And then it
And
gets
who
like
is
kind of
choosing?
dark.
Yeah, it is. It is. It was dark because when I looked at my family, I'm like, all this suffering and pain and harm for nothing, like literally because somebody decided you don't deserve this. You don't deserve a solid home. You don't deserve the right education. It's like, it's hurtful, right?
And especially like, because just hearing your energy and your tone and like even you telling your story, like you have such there's a deep goodness about you, that you really have just a passion to do something good in the world. Like you as a child, like your inner child is still vibrantly working through you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you've always kept that ethos as but I think it's beautiful that you can like see all of the shit, get it for what it is, know what it is, and then still keep that like connection to your inner child of knowing like, this is what it is, but you know what? I'm going to get creative and I'm going to go outside of the box of the system. And I'm just going to like make a new kind of world. Cause this is something that I say a lot and something that I think is going to be the motto for this shit is like, we want to render this system obsolete. The system that exists, render it obsolete, create new worlds, create new visions, fund. Like, this is why I love your organization so much, because that's exactly the same vision of like funding people of color owned businesses and like kind of like circular economy in a sense of where we all like invest in one another so that we can divest from the world that is divesting from us,
That's right.
Because at the end of the day, it's like, it's the 1%, it's the 0.5% of a population. If you think about that, like logistically, like we're the majority, LOL.
Yeah, exactly.
Like 99%, that's a lot of percentage. That's a lot of people that don't have to follow the rules being set for them,
No. And we don't have to strive to be the 1% either. Right.
That's where they catch us. That's the snare.
That's the snare.
Capitalism
That's the snare. That's the snare. And it is seductive. It is seductive. It requires a lot of inner work. But thank you for saying that, like my inner success. Sometimes, when you work in these professional capacities, especially in DC, sincerity is not really valued.
Girl, in any industry, sincerity is not valued in the United States of America. Sincerity is taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
If someone realizes that you have pure intentions, exactly. There's a difference between naivete and pure intention. And that is the difference. And what sucks for the people outside of like watching people like you or I who have that empathy, who have that drive to make this world a better place, they think that they're getting over on us. And it's like, baby, I also have intuition. Like, I'm also clairvoyant, honey. I see right through your bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I don't have to get trapped in your shadow worlds. I don't have to get, it's okay. That's yours.
I just want to help people, bro. Keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's yours to keep and it's totally fine. But I think, when I looked around and fortunately I'm so like every day I wake up and think, I don't know how this happened, but I am so fortunate to have landed with an amazing team of people that believe in the same thing. And so when I looked up, I know. And,
God links us up.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Jeremy Greer, my co-founder, my co-executive director, we started out on this path together to build liberation in a generation. And when we started thinking about what do we need to do, we didn't say like, oh, it's us. We're the ones that need to do this, right? We looked around and was like, isn't there somebody else doing this? I'm sure somebody else is creating a new narrative about our economy, one that centers people of color as beneficiaries, one that centers us as protagonists, right? We're not the bad people in the economy that don't deserve, right? We were like, there must be somebody else building a big, bold policy agenda, because we're just not going to change this economy just by will. We actually have to be the decision makers, right? That are actually putting these things into action. And lastly, like, we looked around and we were like, we are not the ones necessarily, but we know that there are organizers building real power. We know that the people that are calling for Black Lives Matter in the streets, those are the folks building power. The folks
and that are doing the work,
that are
on
doing
the
the work.
ground.
Yes.
That's their dedication to themselves and to life. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
It's a real life like vocation that these these folks have.
Yeah, it's a practice. It's a faith, right? It's a real
Amen.
faith.
It's a daily practice.
Yeah. And so we
I completely
decided
agree.
to support those folks, and with the expertise and knowledge and experience that we have in policy, and we were like, we want to make sure that whatever policy, especially racial economic policy analysis that these groups need, if they need narrative, like, we're there. Like, they don't have to be the ones on the Hill all the time, or they don't have to be the ones in their state capitals all the time. But we got
like
their
doing
back,
like 70 different jobs,
right? And they don't need to fundraise more money.
And you know what I think is really, I sincerely love this so much. Like, I think it's just so brilliant. I hope that there are organizers listening to this right now. Like, please reach out. Like this is such an incredible organization to just help you meet your needs. And that's essentially like what we need. We need more organizations exactly like you guys, because there's so many organizations, there's so many issues, right? Because this is what a lot of what this show is about, is talking through these things from an intersectional lens of understanding that there's a reason, everything is connected. All of the different fallacies that we see within our society right now, all of the disparities that we see, they're very intimately connected to the root issue, which is white supremacist action, which is very aggressive. It is not passive. It is never passive. It is always proactive, and it is constantly reinventing itself. It's kind of like AI. It's really interesting. And it's not interesting, it's fucked up. But literally, it's like they see a bug, they see like, oh my God, people are upset about this particular law. So then they'll like read that, and then they'll rewrite it in such a way where you don't realize that you're getting like even less of a right than you had in the beginning with the one law that they gave you, because it's kind of like a punishment. It's like, how dare you ask for more than crumbs?
Exactly.
Now you're getting nothing.
We see this in stark relief in Florida. I mean, I don't know.
Girl, I live here, and this place is a mess.
I was like, wow.
Ron DeSantis is an actual fascist. He's the scary ass motherfucker.
Like, wow, just passing an anti-protest bill under the auspices of like, oh, we don't want what happened at the Capitol to happen here. That is not why you are proposing to allow people to be harmed if they harm property. That is not why you set that law. You set that law to shut down Black and brown protesters who are effective in your state.
A fact. You know, they saw how much we rallied together here in Florida. Like, and I don't think that I honestly don't think that Florida had even seen protests like that before. Like, where people like actively, like, I know for a fact, like me living in Miami, like last summer was one of the first times that I really saw people mobilize, like bodies on the ground, and like people who are really doing the work out here, like Dream Defenders, like Femme Power, like, you know, I have chills. I literally have chills up my spine talking about them, because they genuinely were doing the fucking work. There's so many amazing grassroots organizers out here, so many mutual aid funds out here. Like out here in Miami, especially, like they were really working for the community, man. Like people were really showing up for each other. And it's just sick to me how much time these white supremacist elected officials, if we even call it elected officials, because it's such a, like, at this point, this shit is so motherfucking rigged and corrupt that I can't help but wonder, you know, maybe it's about the money. But the point being that I just find it absolutely insane that they sit around and instead of like there were no COVID relief packages put together.
No.
They shut down public transportation and didn't even think about all of the people who needed to get to the essential workers that needed public transportation to get to work. You know what I'm saying? Like they're going to lift that fare when it comes back. Also, it's just like they're thinking of all of the ways that they can capitalize off of people's pain. And then how can we further strip rights from them speaking up and making their voices heard and enacting actual change? You know what I'm saying? Because the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition are doing incredible work out here. And they restored so many people's right to vote. And that work was so vital to what happened in this last election. And all of the Republicans, because of course, Florida's majority red. Like there's a lot of uneducated people in Florida. Let me tell you something. Because our school systems are one of the most divested from. And this is what I'm saying is like all of these full circle situations. You get fascists who are in power, who are passing anti-constitutional bills. Like these are people who are saying they're conservatives, who are actively passing laws that are against liberation, like 100% against contra the ethos of the United States. Like our First Amendment right is to protest, is to gather and protest, especially the fucking government. That's the whole point of this country. That was literally when these white folks talk about their whole agenda for why they made this beautiful country of theirs, right?
Yep.
The core is freedom.
Yeah.
That's what everybody loves to talk about. They love talking about freedom. Oh my God, they love it. They love talking about freedom. But then government officials who claim to be conservative actively pass laws and enact things that detract from freedom.
You like
I just
you said nothing but a word. You said nothing but a word. You're gonna be
the circuit is broken. Like there's
you're gonna be our Florida correspondent for liberation in a generation.
I got you. I swear to God. Listen, I'm not leaving this country, okay, the way I found it. That's what I want. My ancestors had nothing to do with this place, okay. Right. Mine were in Cuba. Also, there's obviously some colonizers in my blood as well. So, I am pretty blanquita, but at the same time, I understand the people because I do have indigenous blood in my heart as well. Yeah. So, there's duality is just important.
Yes. But you really highlighted something that it took me a really long time to come to, and it's something that undergirds everything that we do at Liberation in a Generation. It's that, and it clarified, when I was little, I was like, why is this like this? And I kept asking that question, why? I have stopped asking the question why, because I have the answer. It's racism is profitable. So whatever it is, if
they're making money, honey.
If it's about
as long as it's making money, they don't give a fuck.
No, they don't.
Not one. They don't care.
It's racism is profitable. But the problem is exactly what you talked about. It's not just like racism is profitable and like, oh, we just keep it rolling. No, it means that we don't get to build wealth. That means that we get our political voice suppressed, and that means we get no real authority over creating the rules that make racism profitable. So guess what? It's this circle. It's this vicious cycle.
It's a cycle, and it's actually insane. Because something that I really came to a strong conclusion about was that they don't care, right? That's literally like the main bottom line at the end of the day. When I saw everything unfold in the year of 2020 and the way that every government official, Democratic and Republican alike, okay? That's right. All of these people who are supposedly in charge of the well-being of their citizens, right? I saw them all turn a blind eye to the actual crises at hand, which was the fact that people were unemployed and unable to get food for their kids and being evicted from homes that they couldn't work to pay rent for because landlords make money off of people's living situations, right? So my mind just came to this very intense conclusion. Like anything that they try to tell me or sell me is going to kill me, is for the intention of, this is profitable for me, and I don't care what happens to them, because if they die, they have more, and it's just more money. They literally don't see anything else. So they don't care about private prisons being a thing. They don't care about sex trafficking being a thing. They don't care about arms trafficking being a thing. They don't care about the mass shootings. They don't care about police being fucking abusive and corrupt as shit, and clearly a murderous gang of motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Murderous. Paid for by our tax dollars. Bet. Okay? So they don't care about any of that shit, because guess what? They can make a documentary about it, and we're all gonna watch it on Netflix, and they'll make a fuck ton of money. And guess what? And Vanity Fair will write a beautiful article about it and put Breonna Taylor on the cover, and the law will be passed in Breonna's name, and the police department will pay themselves out millions of dollars via that bill. And there's still no justice for Breonna.
Yeah. And this is,
you know what I'm saying?
But your clarity,
mind fuck, because they keep going, and then they put it in the news cycles to desensitize us, and then it's like a loop. It's a literal loop, dude. It's actually crazy. Like, I sit and watch the social medias unravel, and every time there is a new shooting, every time that there is a new massacre, every time there's a new, like, wow, it's like sensationalized, and everyone jumps on it, and everyone jumps about awareness, and we got to talk about this particularly, we got to get justice for this particular person. And we have to understand, we have to get to a point of understanding that it is not about the individual people and the justice that they're not going to get justice, because this fucking system is unjust. The entire ethos of the system, the entire core of the system is unjust. You cannot have a justice system based off of corruption, where people in the courts are making personal decisions, not unbiased judge, like all of that shit is a farce. Like, it's a fucking farce. It's all about money in this country. Everything is about money. That's why it's amazing what you're doing, because it's about reallocating our investments, right? Because that's, to me, what I realized as well is, of course, we need people in the streets. We need people who are revolutionaries. We need people who are ready to, because at this point, what it's going to take is revolt, period. They're going to continue to do their shit exactly as they do their shit. Because guess what do? We get enraged, we tweet about it, we go out to the streets. Some of us get arrested. Some of us get felonies on our fucking, now we can get felonies in Florida. If you want to go advocate for something, you get a felony, bro. And a white supremacist with a car can come through and kill your ass and get zero fucking consequence for that. That's what they made a law. They made that a law recently. And not only just Ron DeSantis, it's the whole Senate. The entire Florida Senate, and the way that they're passing this with a quickness that they could never pass a coronavirus relief bill fund for, it's just telling, in my opinion. It's just very telling about the intention, the ethos, and the priorities of the people who are in quote unquote power, right? The people who have money.
I think you're absolutely right. And here's the thing. I have not given up on our political system. Because you know why? Because I haven't given up on people like you, on people like Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, Stacey Abrams.
Man. That woman is a fucking saint.
Rashida Tlaib. I have not given up on those people, mostly women of color, right? I have not.
Only. What are you talking about? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Don't get mad at me.
I have not given up on them, because I believe
women of color are the liberation, period.
Yeah.
The leaders and the liberators. Never have I ever met a badass woman of color who was in liberation, who was not the queen of the universe in her own right. Like, or their own right. I've never met it. I've never met them.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I look around my family and I'm like, Black women especially, like, we love hard. Like, you love
with action. Yeah. You love with action. It's not just words, it's action. And that's the thing. And even sometimes it's like, it's a purely action thing. It's like, there's no confusion in y'all's bodies about what is right and what is wrong. You are so connected to your humanity and so connected to your, and it sucks because, of course, the majority of that, like, empathy comes from the experience that you have to have in this world, right? And all of the pain and suffering that you have to go through at the hands of people counting you out, misjudging you, fucking labeling you as aggressive and crazy and all kinds of crazy ass fucking stereotypes that people have just bestowed upon your truth telling. Your truth telling, because that's the thing is y'all don't play. There's no playing involved.
No, and people can be scared. People are scared of the truth.
It scares them. It scares the shit out of them, dude. People having to confront themselves, like you might as well ask them to like kill themselves. Like it's I'm sorry, that's dark. But for real, like confronting ourselves is killing an old self. It's killing that part of ourselves that we've left unconscious to wreak havoc on other people's lives. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what the whole awakening is about. And that's why I leave a lot of grace for people. I know that not everyone needs to have grace for everybody through their processes. You know what I'm saying? Like Black folks really don't have to have any grace for anybody. Like y'all keep doing you. But like for me, like I have a lot of grace for people like who don't understand it yet. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like because of who I am and what I look like and what like the way that I've been able to navigate the world with so much privilege thus far, like it's important for me to have conversations with people who are more difficult to get to. You know what I mean? Or who wouldn't otherwise understand unless it was coming out of someone white's mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like those people exist and they still got to be converted if we want to go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Or not converted, but like woken up. Like, hello.
Or just forced. Or just forced. You know, forced. we didn't really have like sympathizers for ending slavery. Like we didn't like if you really think about it.
Force them to be decent people. I'm forcing you, bitch.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying like I haven't given up on our political system because I do think there's a thing about like changing hearts and minds. We got to change hearts and minds. But you know what? If you have the right policies, people can't just
fuck your heart and your mind, dummy.
Yeah. Here's your heart. Here's your mind. This is what you're doing.
Take it up with your mother.
Yeah. You're not discriminating against people. We're not leaving people behind anymore.
I agree.
Like you can't just have a hate crime and get off with it. Like this is why we have policies. It's so that we don't necessarily have to wait for everybody's hearts and minds.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I just don't know if we're gonna get enough white people to sign off on. I just don't know.
You're so right. You're so right. You're so right. It's beyond right. Like that's a real statement. That's a real fucking statement. It's also just like we need to like all come to a collective conclusion that like no more white men in power.
Yeah,
they haven't done a good job. They haven't done a good job. From my experience in this country so far, I'm 24 years old, going on 25. Every single person besides Barack Obama has pretty much that doing all the fuck shit. You know what I'm saying? Even though Barack does some fuck shit too, but like you know, on the majority scale, old white men. Just a lot of old white dudes. And a lot of like old white women trying to appease white men to be in their clubs. And a lot of like people of color who sell the fuck out to try to be white. And it's just, we got to stop. We got all those kinds of people. We got to just stop voting for them. We got to stop fucking with them. We got to be like, you're not cool.
That is right.
You're whack.
That is right. You know, I often have this conversation in my own family, right? But we have to vote for this person because we'll lose otherwise. The GOP will win otherwise. Right. I just don't buy it. We lose either way. There is a world where if we don't push Joe Biden to do what we actually need to do, we still lose. We might not lose as bad or be as harmed as we were in this last administration, which was terrible. But guess what? We are still not moving the ball towards liberation necessarily. I care about what people are doing in the moment. I also care about people's history because it tells me what might be why they're doing the things that they're doing in the moment. But I do think there's a new energy in the administration that is listening to progressives, people that are left of the administration. I think all that energy in the streets is getting heard. It's not all getting heard, right? We still have this policing act that is not anywhere near where we need to.
We need to end qualified immunity, period. Yes. Watch how quick they stop killing motherfuckers. Watch how quick.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Your ass is going to jail for murder, honey. Bye.
Absolutely. Right. But I'll tell you, money for paid family leave and sick leave, that's a big deal for women especially, but for all families, to be able to stay in this workforce.
Yeah.
Being able to have universal pre-K for all kids, like, that's important stuff. 2-year free community college.
Yeah.
I do think there's some things. Now, it's not like, I guess we say this
to
a
me,
lot.
they all still feed into their system though. You know what I'm saying? Like at the, that's where my brain goes. And I might be cynical as fuck at this point. So, you know, I appreciate the positivity, to be honest. Like I love a good sprinkle of optimism in my life. But dead ass, like to me, like America is just an imperialist place. Like it is an extractive place that is just so dead set on making life complicated and painful and difficult for anyone who doesn't have generational wealth built off of slavery. Like just, and if you're the anomaly, they like parade you around like you're a fucking trophy.
That's right.
As proof that everyone else who's in your position should be able to do what you've been able to do and overcome. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And I feel like we also we fetishize those stories so much in our culture. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like it just leaves no space for the real for conversation about the real issues, which again, like we're talking right now, and like what your organization does, like I just fucking love it. I think it's so dope. Like I think it's brilliant. Like because there's already so many people doing work. There's so many people who are trying to move, and I've never seen $500 stretched the way an organizer can stretch $500.
Exactly.
Like the government needs to hire them. Like you guys can't seem to find money anywhere to help us out. Like let us help you out. Like let's get you a nice cute little organizer to come in to help you understand how to make, $10 trillion work.
That's right. But here's the thing. I don't think that there is any other mechanism. Well, here's the thing. I think the federal government can print money. There aren't many.
And does.
It does.
Whenever the fuck they want.
So when I get down, I'm like, how do we get ourselves out of this? I look at the folks that are trying to change that system from within and really getting at the root causes of some of these things. Now, look, we only have like 5 banks that really control the flow of capital throughout our entire economy, right? And those are root causes. That's why I was like, Elizabeth Warren, you know that, right? I'm looking to you to undo that. I'm looking to you to undo corporate concentration and mass wealth accumulation. I think we have to be supportive of the folks that are really digging into the minutia of like what is really running this economy. Corporate concentration, the tax code. Nobody wants to fuck with the tax code. Nobody's like, oh, let me sit down with the IRS and figure out all nobody wants to do that. But guess what? It is the way that we create more equality and redistribute wealth and power. Like you're talking about power.
Yeah, but the tax, I don't even think we should be paying taxes. Like, I know I'm really all the way over here in whatever land.
No.
I live in ideal like fairyland where everybody gets to eat. Everybody has a roof over their head. We don't poison exactly the water that ourselves.
But you are exactly right. We actually don't need the taxes. We don't need taxes to do those things. You are right. I'm not saying that we shouldn't pay taxes, but we should not.
The government is a mafia. They just be like, yo, give me your money. And then, we're like, oh no, okay, I guess. And then we give them our money and then we're like, okay, but you're going to use it like to help us out, right? And they're like, yeah, we're going to fix the potholes and all that stuff. Don't worry. And then we're like, wait a minute, but you're flying around in a jet? And you had cocaine with some strippers this weekend? I'm confused about where my tax money is going. I just don't understand.
Look, you are hitting on something that like most economists aren't even all about. And truth be told, I am new to modern monetary theory. It's literally MMT.
Yo, there's a
But
lot going on in the
the
space
point
of
is
Bitcoin
that
and all this cryptocurrency.
we do not have to tax ourselves in order to have nice things. We have
Period.
to tax ourselves to redistribute wealth and
I
power,
agree.
but
I
not
agree.
to have nice things.
I agree.
We it,
I
it
agree.
it's just not true. And it's one of these things
Right.
where we think, oh, we've got to balance the budget. We actually don't have to balance the budget. We don't know.
You
This is starting to
motherfuckers
get wonky.
are hoarding money. You need to cough that up, because not even your great, 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 great grandchildren will be able to spend it.
Yes.
They'll still have more than 10,000 families
Yes.
combined at that 10th great grandchild of yours.
That's right. And
You
so
know
if you ever hear somebody saying like, oh, but the deficit, like, oh, we can't have nice things because we're gonna run up this big bill and the deficit.
I mean, the
It's
thing is, you guys don't care about that when you're running the bill up for expensive military toys.
it's
You
the
guys,
thing. It's the
you're
thing.
down to add another trillion to blow shit
And
up.
guess what? At this point, our
So
money is not backed by gold. We
it's
do
all.
not.
This is what I'm saying. Okay. So hear me out.
Yes.
Ready? I'm gonna go in one more time with my craziness. Ready? So hear me out. Money is a figment of our imaginations, right? Taxes are the government mafia's way of taking that money from us that we work for, and then using it to do crazy fuck shit like build private prisons, you know? So like, how in my brain, and this is going to be very controversial, so anyone listening who's like, oh my god, she's so scared, I'm sorry to scare you, but what if we collectively decided, hey, I'm not going to pay you taxes if you're going to use them to blow people up. I'm not going to pay you taxes if you're not going to invest in our healthcare. Like, I'm actually not going to pay taxes this year until you agree that you're going to give me healthcare with that money.
Well, here's the thing though. They don't need our taxes.
They don't. I guess you're right. But they do.
They can still
Don't they get a lot of money?
They do.
That
The
they
government
print it, but they print it. Ah! See, that's where I gotta have somebody on to talk through cryptocurrency with, because that's the next wave. Let me tell you, decentralized money is the wave.
But you also got to get somebody on here that actually talks about what happens in the Treasury, what happens in the Federal Reserve Bank, because it's real. I mean, I believe,
Do you know anybody who, I mean, networking, like, hey, do you know anyone I can have on for that?
Yeah, totally.
In the middle of a podcast episode. Okay, well, thank you. That's beautiful. Yeah, that would be great if you could connect me with someone who could. I would love to talk about that. I want to get all the dirty deeds out. I want America to drag itself real quick. We're pulling up all the receipts, honey. You need to be held accountable.
I think it's important. I think in order, what gives me hope, what gives me life, is that we have people like the Dream Defenders, and we've worked with them. You mentioned them.
They're amazing.
They're the ones that give me life, right? We've worked with them on things like workshops around defund the police, how to get police out of schools, right? We don't need police.
Florida is not having that. Florida is like, you don't want police? Up the budget. Up the budget. Like, take money from the education. They're talking about no police.
Yeah.
Like, guys, let's talk about it. Like, let's just talk about it. I know you guys like your policia, but like, let's talk about it. Like, there's a lot of ways around this shit.
And that's another example of like having mass shootings in schools and then saying like, oh, you guys need police. It's like, but police don't actually prevent
Where was the police
school shootings?
Last time I checked, the police is probably going to be in a corner hiding as well. A security guard at school is not about to confront a psychopathic, murderous man with an AR-15. So not gonna happen.
We worked with them, and
the question also for me is like, how do you expect someone like the cop to have that kind of, bravery when they're killing unarmed people because they say they're scared? I make it make sense, bro. If you're gonna have a narrative, make it make sense. Like, don't give me so much proof that y'all are completely cowardly and incompetent. Like, if you guys are trying to tell me I need you to feel safe, like I don't feel safe around you, bro. Like at all.
It's groups like Dream Defenders though that really give me hope, because not only are they organizing in the everyday and figuring out how do we get cops out of our schools, how do we get cops out of our communities, but they're also recognizing like what are the things that actually make people safe. It's having a it's like it's our communities. And when our communities feel safe, it means that they have everything that they need, right? They have food, people have income, they can take care of themselves, they have health care, they're not worried about if their kids can go to school or not, right? Like that's the stuff that that I'm so like excited for Dream Defenders, because they have such big visions about not only abolition, but things like, well, maybe we deserve a guaranteed income. Maybe we deserve.
They do that in fucking Switzerland, I think it is. I think it's Switzerland. Yeah, I went to Montreux, and that was I met this dude out there, and we were talking about like, I was like, damn, everyone out here is so happy. There's no TSA. There's no fucking people trying like patting you down and treating you like a criminal before you go in. You just go into the country. Yeah. When you come, you just go in. There's no borders. That's not a thing there. And you just, everyone is chilling. There's people of all kinds of races, people of all kinds of ethnicities everywhere. Yeah. And I'm like, why the fuck is everyone so happy? Like, what's good? People are at the park playing. And yeah, there's people at the park playing here too. But then like there could be a homeless man sleeping right next to them. There's no homelessness. That's not a thing there. And there's a guaranteed minimum income. You have to guaranteed. You have to make like 35K a year minimum, or like 40. I don't know. I actually really don't know the number, so I'm not even gonna try. But I know it's enough to live a fucking life and not have to worry about anything. That's right. And it's a minimum income. You cannot, as a corporation, you cannot hire people and not pay them enough to live. A concept, especially when we got trillionaire CEOs.
Yes.
Like, that's disgusting.
Who are basically squashing they're squashing worker rights, right? So we saw in Mississippi, folks in Bessemer, no, that's Alabama, sorry. In Bessemer getting squashed by Amazon, right? Oh no, you cannot have a union.
Period. And if you work for a union, you're fired. Yeah. If you form a union, you're fired, which is like, also, isn't that against the law too? Didn't we make an amendment for that at some point? Like when the unions came, but they've been working to dismantle the unions since they came around. So
Alabama is a right to work state. And you can get fired anytime. They can squash unions. Yeah, we haven't really let go of like slavery and Jim Crow, if we're really being honest.
Remodeling it. No, because this is my thing, right? Is that, and I come back to the core of all of this, right? The core issue is white supremacist capitalism, right? So that is an insatiable beast of insecurity and greed. Insatiable greed. Like there's legitimately no end to where it will go, because we're actually killing the planet. A lot of people are dying on a regular basis, not just of COVID, of all kinds of diseases, of all kinds of mental health issues, depression, suicide, all kinds of shit is going down in this country. The opioid crisis never went away. Bitches are still on drugs. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like this war on drugs decimated neighborhoods and generations of people that are, you know what I'm saying? Like family. So many kids in foster care, so many kids, like we don't talk about all of this stuff because I feel like the ethos of American culture is like trying to be rich. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I wish I was rich, or I am rich. Like, it's like the mentality that's like, nobody cares about each other. It's literally like so self-indulgent, so self-involved. And people move in such a linear, like, I have to make money for me and then I can be the savior, right? Because that's what we're seeing. That's the model we're seeing with people like Jeff Bezos, with people like Bill fucking Gates, with all of these like technocratic giants that are like, ooh, I have so much power because I made a website. Now you do what I say. And we're like, baby, you studied tech. You didn't even study tech. You didn't even go to college. You did that in your garage. I don't trust you to talk to me about my health. Fuck off. Like, it's actually crazy.
Here's the thing that you're bringing up, Lauren, that I really want. I think there are like a couple levels that I want to make sure that like your audience understands, is that white supremacist capitalism, which we call the oppression economy or racial capitalism, it sits deep in all of us. Deep. And it's actually a lot of personal work. I'm not saying like you got to start with you and then you end with you and it's all individual.
Right.
But what I'm saying is like in this work that we're doing around systems and around policies, like, yeah, I personally have to like recharge every day. I got to drink tons of water. I got to be in community with people. I got to talk about hard shit. I got to constantly be feeding my imagination, right? This is not like this is not a walk in the park.
Healing is not cute. Healing is not cute. That's what this whole entire fucking podcast is about. Literally, is like, I am so adamant about the fact exactly what you're talking about. Not on no like, self-improvement shit type of thing, like where you're constantly a failure and you have to always get better. But in this very real way, we've been indoctrinated. These systems exist because they exist inside of us. They are living, breathing systems. They are not just, something that was put in place that's mechanical, that like stays in a certain space. It lives and breathes and it moves with us and what we feel and what we think. So, and the collective is always a reflection of the individual, because on a spiritual tip, just to pull it in, like we are a reflection of one another. Everyone that you encounter in your life is a reflection of a part of you, whether it's something that you have to heal about yourself, that you have like whether that's like boundary issues that you need to heal, like where places you've been hurt that you need to create stronger boundaries around, or it's to reflect a piece of you that you need to work on and you need to like reflect on and you need to just shift and move away from and let go of, so that you can be a better version of yourself. And as we evolve as beings on this planet, because I feel like I've been like 17,000 different people like since I've been alive. Like I've gone through so many fucking deaths and rebirths, like I can't even put it into words. So like if we all just like really understood that and kind of kept moving in that realm of like we can move things out as easily as we can bring them in. Things can be like, everything is a reflection of our inner worlds, right? So if we get our inner worlds on lock, where we trust ourselves, where we trust our own beings to take care of ourselves, where we trust our intuition, where we trust our bodies and what the fuck they're telling us about how they feel about what we're putting in them or what's around them. You know what I'm saying? Like when we really step into our power as energetic beings and get out of this like 3D realm of thinking of ourselves as just like a brain and a body people can look at. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we really move into those spaces and start to heal that within ourselves, I think it trickles, because then everyone around you sees you more healed and they want to heal a little more because they see how happy you are. They see how more balanced you are and able to handle your shit, because we spiral. This is what these structures do to us. They make us hopeless. They make us feel like there's no way out. They make us feel like there's no other option. They make us feel like our imaginations are not commodifiable, right? So it's like, even though our entire world's based off of somebody's imagination at some point, right? Everything that we know, somebody
dreamed up slavery, somebody dreamed up paper, Jim Crow, money,
all of it.
Yeah.
All of it. And so just as easily as someone dreamt that up, we can dream up a brand new fucking world where we don't exploit each other. Like we don't need to. We live on an abundant planet with abundant resource. If we take care of things in symbiosis, in balance with each other and the land, we'll be okay. But if not, if we can move in this trajectory, dude, like we're really fucked. Like we're blowing this shit up. We're killing ourselves right now. It's wild.
I think what I'm learning so much from folks who are working on prison abolition, policing abolition, right? About the practice of not embodying policing within. I do not need to recreate police. And that's an everyday act. Literally, if I feel threatened, my first instinct should not be to call the police. It's just like,
that's the key right there. Is like, we need to get a cute phone number that's as cute as 911, and we got to have like real organizers on deck. Like, hey, what do you need help with? What are you feeling? Why do you feel unsafe? What need needs to be met? And us as consumers of this culture also to be aware of, what do we actually need when we feel unsafe? What does safety look like? Why do we feel unsafe? Why are people murdering? Why are people raping? Why are people pillaging? Why are people stealing? Why are people, you know what I'm saying? Like, we like break that down to less simplistic of good or bad person.
Right.
Because especially right now, I feel like in this cancel culture world that we live in, and that's not to say that people should not be held accountable. I think that those are two completely different conversations. People should obviously be held accountable for their shit. But I feel like we don't leave room for people to have air or be human, or to have been fucked up before and re-educated.
Well, and people of color have never gotten second chances in this nation. Like,
no,
they don't barely get one chance.
They don't get one chance. They pick innocent people up off the street and throw them in jail because they know that they can't afford bail and they can make money off their head.
Yeah,
that's like an actual practice they make money off of. So it's like, yeah, that's for people of color, it's a whole nother situation for sure.
But I think, folks that are, I look at Adrienne Marie Brown, and I love like the idea that you're talking about is like how what we do as individuals does matter in our collective. And she talks about in Emergent Strategy, she talks about what is micro in her book Emergent Strategy.
I gotta read that.
Oh, it's so good. And she's got several newer ones than that. But she talks about what is micro is macro. And the entire book is quite lovely because she's looking at the forms in nature and how they can instruct how we can be together, not only in organizing, but just like how we be together, right? And she talks about, and she talks about the fern. She talks about the fern, right? Being like, you can see the fern's structure in the tiniest of leaves. And it's multiplied and multiplied and multiplied in the entire organism, right? In the whole fern. And I also love this idea of like understanding leadership in relationship to one another. When we look at a flock of geese, we have the goose that's always in front isn't always in front. It just looks like the goose is always in front.
Because we can't tell the difference between the geese.
Yeah, I know, exactly. That goose comes to the back and is eventually part of that V, right? And because that goose in the front is taking a lot of headwind. And I just feel like it's like things like that we have to embody. We have to slow down enough. We have to like have enough space to reflect on capitalism and sort of like, what is this thing that I'm working for?
Yeah.
In order to have that kind of space and new relationship.
That question is so important. What is this thing that I'm working for? I had a really deep connection with that question last year when kind of everything that I thought was going to happen kind of got pulled out from under the rug for me. And I was very unsure of my future, to be honest, like just completely honest. I was super unsure of the future. And I had to really sit with myself and ask myself, what does success even mean to you? Like, what does that mean? Because when I was little, based off of everything that I saw and everything that I had around me, I was like, success means being rich. Success means that one day I'm going to have so much money that I'm never going to have a husband that I fight with 24/7 because of money. And my kids are never going to have to even worry about the word money. And like, that was my like assertion to myself was I will be rich, period. Like I had no question about it. I was like, I'm going to be a millionaire. I don't care. I'm gonna. And I moved in that direction and then, did my thing. And then living life is a lot of money. So even if you end up getting to being a millionaire, you realize when you're a millionaire nothing compared to these billionaires and compared to, you know what I'm saying? It's a never ending insatiable beast is what I'm saying, is that idea of success is like, when is it enough? What does it mean to have enough? What does it mean to be satisfied by life in general? You know what I'm saying? Like, where are we going? I feel like since I was born, I was just like on this trajectory of like to be something and be someone and do something in this world. And it's just like, why? Why? Why do I gotta do so much? Like, why? And why do I feel so unworthy when I'm not doing a lot? Like, why can't, and then that like loop though of this constant productivity and all of that, I feel like it doesn't leave as much space for us to sit with these questions. Like, I had the opportunity to sit with these questions because I worked my ass off, and it wasn't, I just came across money or I inherited money. I worked my ass off for that shit. But when it came in, that's what gave me the time, the space, the capacity to really sit with myself and heal me, sit with myself and heal me. If you're working 12 hours a day, every single day of the week, or 5 out of 7 days of the week, right? How are you supposed to have the capacity to even want to have deep conversations about existential dread? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, we don't have time to talk about that shit. Let's get fucked up. Like, I would rather get fucked up and not think about that shit. I don't want to talk about it. Like, I understand why people are so averted to like having these imaginative conversations and talking about these possibilities, because even like when I talk to like older members of my family who are like more rigid in their beliefs, because I'm talking to them every time and every day. But like, it's one of those things where I'm like, they literally cannot imagine a world that doesn't exploit them. Because I come from a family of immigrants, you know what I'm saying? Like, they came from Cuba and they had opportunity, but like, they're still immigrants who had to build from scratch and build their, my grandfather had a trade, thank God. So he was able to create, his own little business for himself. He was a mechanic and he fixed air conditionings and stuff. And he used to do it for free for people who couldn't afford it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was a tradesman. So he had that ability, and that's how he was able to do his shit in here and provide for his family. Pero tal vez, I'm like off the point, is like that money and like that that time, that luxury of being able to have enough to meet your needs so that you can delve into yourself. That's what this whole shit is about. They don't want us to have the time or the energy or the patience or the deservability within ourselves to care about ourselves and love on ourselves and understand ourselves and why we're operating the way we are and why this world's operating the way it does. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a luxury to think about, but it's also not, because if we don't all start to really collectively imagine in this beautiful way, like not tainted by all of the exploitation of all of our past, of our collective past, because as humans, we've done some crazy fuck shit. Like, we have not been on a good one, like, while we've been on this planet. We've had waves, there's some golden eras and some shit that comes through that we're like, ooh, we're doing good. But this totalitarian, this like, I want to control everything, and somebody coming in to do that via force and violence is just like repetitive. It's just, it's a cyclical thing. So we got to heal ourselves and have that time. And the needs need to be met, which is the point of that whole rant.
That's right. That's
meeting the needs, being where we channel this money instead of these fucking cops.
You could see, where, you can see where capitalism is really seductive, right? This idea that we can eventually get to the place where we have solace, right? Where we have so much money that we have solace, which is basically what you said, that we have the ability to just have joy, that we have space to have self-reflection and love, right? And at the same time, we're working against a system that just in reality just eats away at those things. And that's essentially what, for us, what economic liberation is about. And it's undergirded by a set of what we think should be guarantees: a guarantee income, a guarantee to a job. If you want a job,
we should also guarantee for fucking clean water, like
guaranteed.
Guaranteed. Like, the thing that your cells need to survive. Yeah. We should give you that for clean.
Guaranteed healthcare, guaranteed education, debt-free, like
the healthcare that you want.
Yes.
Like whoever you want to go to see, it's like whatever doctor you actually connect with, not one that's just like in your fucking register.
That's right. That's right. And a guarantee to paid leave. If you need to take some time, just take some time.
You don't need to give me an explanation.
No, a guarantee to, and a real guarantee to generational wealth, which in some cases is like, some people push back, like, isn't that really capitalist? But I think we all have a sense of wanting to give something to our future.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. It doesn't have to always be money. I guess that's the other thing about this like binary. It's like, well, if we go for that, aren't we just like reinforcing our current systems? We are at Liberation in a Generation. We're like, we acknowledge this current system. We need to work this system. We need to work it because
work it, flip it, and reverse it.
That's right. That's right. Because the alternative just doesn't have the scale and doesn't print money.
It doesn't print money. And you know what? Also, we ain't really ready to take up arms like that because these motherfuckers are not going down without a fight. They're not about to just let us do shit. Obviously. Fucking, they kill unarmed folks. Like, so they have demonized protesters to be felons.
That's absolutely right. And we don't have that kind of power yet, right? But I can see it.
We really don't. I think we have that collective power financially. I think this is why I think attacks, like, this is why I think us collectively divesting from these systems and being like, actually, you're not going to use our money to do this. Actually, you're not going to do that, you know? But like all of us collectively, and that's the gimmick, right? Because we're, like you said, capitalism is very seductive, and a lot of people are very, very, very deeply cast under its spell. Like very deeply, like will die fighting for Republicans who literally steal your money, like just stealing your money. Yeah, and it's like, and that's not all Republicans, you know, whatever, but like majority of them, and majority of them. So that's what's and they're so uneducated about that and so uninformed about that because they're not really doing research because they've never been taught how to do research. They've been taught to take things at face value and to take the media as credibility and to take, you know, what the government is telling you as the truth. It's like a fucking Truman Show, bro. It's wild. It's just like,
but it also reinforces
reality, you know?
I mean, white supremacy is real, right? It reinforces all of the notions of deservedness, right? If I work hard enough, then I deserve these things. Other people aren't working hard. They don't deserve those things. We're beyond. We're just
even
beyond
though that. The one who's making the most money in this country, all of the ones who are making the most money in this country, they do the least amount of work. The least amount of physical labor, the least amount of investment.
I did think about Jeff Bezos. I was like, wow, he doesn't really have to pay for anything, like anything. Because like anything that he buys, he could buy from Amazon. He could go to Whole Foods. He could, like, he literally is just paying himself every time he buys anything. It's really amazing.
It's kind of brilliant, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's kind of brilliant. I just wish, he had a conscience. That'd be really fun. Because then he could be brilliant with a conscience and literally change the whole world, but he doesn't have one, so.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of inner work that we have to do. I think there's a lot of work in community with one another. Again, Adrienne Maree Brown has a new book about cancel culture, right? Do we have enough power? Do we have enough capacity to really cancel folks? There are some folks that we don't need to roll with because they have very opposite values. But we do need to give each other grace because, like, we need a lot of people
to do what we want to do.
Yeah.
And also, like, we have to have a certain amount of grace for the understanding that people have been indoctrinated. It's not casual. It's not like people are, I mean, of course, some people choose the mentality once you're exposed to truth, once you're exposed to different resources, once you're given a graceful conversation. Because again, you're not going to change anybody's mind with a combative conversation. Like, even if the person, like, because the way that I see it is like, I'm on the side of humanity. I'm pro-human. I'm pro let people motherfucking live their goddamn lives. Yeah. I'm pro let people identify however the fuck they want. Yeah. Who cares? I'm pro let people fuck whoever they want. Who cares? Let people do whatever they want to their own bodies. who cares? If they are not harming themselves or others, leave them the fuck alone. That's my personal opinion, right? So I forgot where I was going with that. But there was somewhere I was going.
We need to be in community with one another.
Oh, right. We need, like, even if you cancel somebody on the internet, that person's body still exists on this planet and they're still there. And if they've had an experience where they feel that they were absolutely not able to repent or to come back from a mistake that they now recognize as wrong, or that they still don't even recognize as wrong because they're so deeply in defense mode trying to like salvage their character, which that's all we all think about. All of us all think about our reputation on a 27-hour basis. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the way others perceive you, because we're energetic beings. Of course, we care about how we're perceived because we're constantly perceiving and being perceived, you know? So it's like, if we just trap people into this like space where you're not allowed to be better than you were. You're not like, you were so terrible that now you have to stay terrible.
Yeah.
Stay terrible. There's no coming back for you. You were so bad that there's no way you can get better.
Which is what we've done for Black and brown people that we've incarcerated over and over. So it's like, are we really repeating that? Are we trying? Are we just doing that again?
Psychological carceral state, man. We're imprisoned in our fucking mind. There's so many different reasons why people are disconnected from the truth. And so anytime I encounter somebody who doesn't align with truth or who is spitting false statements and like with a conviction, I have a conversation with them, you know?
Yeah.
And am I going to change everybody's mind? No. But am I going to just completely dismiss their ability to change their mind? No.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And I think we just need to find, not just, but I think it's about finding more allies to be in real conversation with, but also keep asking why in a collective, right? We just can't stop. We just have to keep asking why. Why does this exist?
Challenging things, and challenging our imaginations to come up with something better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that it's possible to implement. It's not like they try to make us feel like, you know, you have to go through all of these loopholes and all of these officials and all of these words and all of these courts, and we don't need all that. Like, we can start in our daily interactions with ourselves first, and then with each other and our families and conversations that we're having like in our immediate.
Right. And I encourage people to find a political home. You know, I think for so many people, like Dream Defenders is a wonderful political home that actually speaks to the experiences that young people of color have been having, that gives a rationale to why you're seeing the things that you're seeing, but also gives actual like strategy on changing systems and not just being like, I opt out. I opt out. Because if too many of us opt out, like there just aren't enough of us to opt out.
Dude, I feel that heavy. I was very conflicted this last election, to be honest. Like, because like I said, I don't fuck with Biden either. So I had a deep, voting didn't feel like harm reduction in any way, you know? Like, it felt like something, like the choice between the two of them felt orchestrated. It didn't even feel organically like we the people chose Biden as the people's president. You know what I'm saying? Is like, it felt orchestrated, and it just made me really sit with the fact that the majority of these systems are orchestrated. They're really all like just for show. But then also I know that that's kind of like a huge part of the ploy to make us not involved, which is why I'm like, render the shit obsolete so we don't even got to do the voting, because we got a whole new world that we live in. Who are you voting for? They don't even work here anymore. You know? That's what I want. That's what I want.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, for Liberation and a Generation, we're not incrementalists. We believe we can do radical things quickly. And that actually changed
with the swipe of a pen, honey.
With the swipe of a pen. And I think that's for me, it's like people need to understand the power of this federal government. I mean, seriously, like, it is night and day, obviously, with Biden and Trump, but like both are showing us that they can keep people out of this country with a swipe of a pen. Both are showing us that they can let people die from pandemics or not let people die from pandemics with a swipe of a pen. Like, I just want to make sure that like people don't walk away thinking, oh, I need to write off, because you're right. Voting can be very unsatisfactory, but that doesn't mean that when we get the right people in,
it won't make a difference.
It won't make a difference.
I agree. Like if
And
Alexandra
I think we need to,
was
exactly.
a
I think
fucking
we
president,
need to do that just in order to get to this new imagine. We can't be like, okay, I voted. Whoo, okay, I'm gonna stop imagining. No, that's the first the first step is voting. The second step is like
I was huge.
Imagination.
I was huge about that because during the elections, I was trying to encourage people to vote because some part of me believes in the concept of democracy. But I do not feel like America is a democracy. I feel like America is an oligarchy that is a slave to the corporate dollar. And I think that
no lies.
Yeah, and I sincerely do not see the people's interests ever heard, ever considered, ever heard. And I feel like they constantly tell us that they want to stay in a neutral zone and not alienate voters, but I really think the people that they don't want to alienate are their donors. And so we just end up with all of these crazy ass policies that are just for corporate benefit. And that's why we're in this position that we're in, is because our government is being run by corporations, and corporations, literally, if you go to school and study business, you like clients are product. It's product. Everything is product. Everything is transactional. Everything is dollar amount. And so if dollar amount is what's driving our social leaders, because that's what government is, they're social leaders. Like they're the ones who are supposed to be, or they're the ones making decisions about our public life, our civil life, our interaction with each other, our ability to exist and how we exist. Like they literally just make rules and enforce them or not. And we have to abide by that, you know? So it's just like, first of all, that's mafia-esque, especially if they got a whole gang of militarized police that they keep putting a budget towards. But second of all, like that's not democracy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the Greeks would literally be like, "Are you dumb? You guys are Rome. You guys are Rome. This is Rome. That's not Athens. Stop. An empire, honey."
Yeah, I think your analysis is exactly right. We actually just came out with a new report around the role of corporate concentration. The idea that,
so you were talking about that earlier, yeah.
Yeah, we only have like 5 big banks, really. We only have like
5 media companies.
5 media companies, right? We only have a couple of companies that are really concerned about our agricultural system, which
the pharmaceuticals
we're seeing in this pandemic the danger of.
Did you notice that the only 3 people who have a vaccine are Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson, all 3 of which have caused so much damage to our health systems since they've been around. Just literally, you could do the most minute amount of research to see the amount of fucking damage they've caused in people's lives. The amount of lawsuits that have been brought against all of them for destroying families and destroying people's lives because of their fucked up shit that they put in their drugs, like to make money. They're literally legal drug dealers. I'm sorry. Like, I know that people hate when I say that shit, but it is what it is.
It's
some people need medication, all of that, but at the same time, like, no,
the record
will show. Let the record state.
Especially for Johnson & Johnson.
There's so much evidence. There's so much evidence of how neglectful they are of actually giving a fuck about what they're putting in the things they're giving people. They don't care about that. They care about their profit. And it's a monopoly. That's why there's only 3 names. They literally have decided to not give the vaccine to other countries because they're not going to make money if they give it away.
And the intellectual property, which at this point is like, this intellectual property should be anyone that wants to create a vaccine.
To me, if someone's bringing up intellectual property when they're talking about people's health, they don't give a fuck about your health.
That's right.
Intellectual property is a monetary, like, vocab word. Like it is in the financial world. It has nothing to do with health. And that is a whole nother story, because for me personally, like, I don't trust the Western medical system because I've been through the Western medical system for my own health issues. And I went through it. I went fucking through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, from my personal experience and from most people who have actually had like some serious illnesses that they've dealt with or serious shit that they've dealt with, this system is a for-profit system that gives you a fucking runaround and does not treat you. Now, will you come across a doctor who's actually a vocational doctor who cares about healing people? Of course
Sure.
you will. Of course you will. But they're a fucking dime a dozen, and your insurance probably doesn't cover them.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, you know, somebody dreamed up all these systems and we can dream up a different system. Like,
Amen.
and it's
But it takes
it's a
acknowledging
constant.
the current system. It takes
Yes.
the accountability of acknowledging the harm. And that's what I think, like, America's like so scared of its past. It's like, just acknowledge the truth, honey. You were a piece of shit. Like, it's okay. Like we're here now. We're gonna work through it, but you gotta admit it. You had a problem. You have a problem. There's an issue.
That's right.
Racism is an issue. I think
Yeah.
we've said the word so much that people are desensitized to the gravity of its impact. But like, racism isn't just like a term that we're like throwing around to like make people feel bad about themselves. Like, these are real life fucking systems that are destroying people's lives on a daily basis. Daily basis.
They are
Like,
systems of harm, as Mariam Kaba says. They are systems of harm, and I feel like that's the work. It's the dismantling and it's the building at the same time, and it's a
exactly.
lot. It's just a lot.
Yeah. How do you feel Liberation Generation like is combating that? Like what is like your specific like MO when it comes to like who you choose to work with, like what kind of projects you want to get involved in, that kind of stuff?
We're really looking for organizers that have this understanding of abolition, have an understanding that all the work that we are putting forth needs to end racial capitalism, right? So and we're really guided by a set of 8 principles. On the dismantling side, ending the criminalization of people of color. That means ending mass incarceration, ending this
And the war on
deportation
drugs.
system, ending the war on ending it. It means ending this dual financial system, the one where we can have a Jeff Bezos and we can literally have homeless folks, and where we prop up the wealth of white people and strip the wealth of people of color. We just see it over and over again. We have to curb corporate power, as we just talked about. There's no democracy, as you mentioned, without doing that. And lastly, like, we've got to end voter suppression, and political suppression, right, is part of that whole cycle. If people can't actually govern and have a governing agenda, we're just going to be at the tip of the spear all the time, right?
In the loop.
Yep.
In that loop. We've been in that loop.
And then the things that we need to and the things that we need to build are quite simple too, right? We just want a place where all people of color have our basic needs met: clean air, clean water, healthcare, like seemingly simple things.
Like, we have to stop asking for empathy from people who don't empathize with us. You know,
No.
I feel like that's the continual call that I feel from like us as like the collective who's really trying to revolutionize things, is like pointing out how terrible things are. But it's like, they know how they made it that way. They know exactly what they did. Like, they're not appealing to the empathy isn't ever going to work. You know, it's really about figuring out how powerful this is again what you do, like figuring out how powerful we are from a financial standpoint and reinvesting our money into people who are making that money stretch and putting it back into communities. You know?
Yeah. And could you imagine a system which we used to have, which actually had public hospitals, right? So you take out the profit incentive. I mean, I think that's it. So in our platform, we
but
have
taking
these,
out
like,
a profit incentive, I don't see that happening. Like, I like my optimistic mind really wants to believe that. But the way that I've seen millionaires and billionaires and trillionaires and government officials operate, like, they have never, ever done anything that's going to cost them money.
So here's some example. We have examples.
Take away like financial incentive to things.
Yes.
Like take it away once it's already been put there. Because obviously it didn't start off that way. But once they did their whole little, you know, new Jim Crow mechanizing of things, and then they implement this new thing, like when it gets to that, that's when I'm like, we spend so much time trying to reform, and they know that. That's why they keep rewriting the rules.
But we have examples of public institutions. I mean, I think this is what we really need to hone in on, right? Is where do we disrupt the cycle of oppression? Because if we don't find the ways that we disrupt it, we can spiral, right? We just spiral out. We're just like, I'm out, right?
I have my days. I have my days where I'm just like,
the other things that we think should be like guaranteed. Everybody should have safety and security. Everyone should be compensated and valued. Everyone should belong in this economy. And we're really talking about those sort of economic guarantees. But there's also this, we have examples of public institutions working. Public hospitals worked. Public hospitals took care.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, both of my grandmas died at a private hospital, and they were killed. I literally watched them be murdered. It was, and you know, it's malpractice, and I literally don't give a fuck what anybody tells me about it. Watching that happen, my first grandma was misdiagnosed, given the wrong treatment, and then you know, it came back, and when it came back just tenfold because it was the wrong fucking cancer was treated. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then my other grandmother, she was 82 years old when they found out she had leukemia. They gave her chemo that they said would knock out a 40-year-old. The strongest chemo possible. She died in 3 months. 3 fucking months.
And I think,
and then my last grandfather, same shit. It's like, oh, the cancer killed him. No, the cancer didn't kill him. His depression killed him. He stopped eating because they put a fucking tube up inside of him and cut out 2 of his major organs. And he couldn't survive that. Yeah. That's what the fuck happened to him. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I just, this people profiting off of death and pain is just like, it makes me sad. Like it makes me really, right now I'm like trying to fight off tears because it's like, dude, like
it's real.
I'm so tired of these exploitative, extractive ass systems that just keep functioning because people are making money. Like that's so fucking disgusting to me.
And it's real.
Like that being the only incentive, you know what I'm saying? Is like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
It's real. And we only find this, I feel like that is exactly why we need to find community in one another, because walking through it alone is too much.
No, it'll drive
you too
insane.
much. And finding solutions together, not only for our hearts, but like actual structures, like systemic work. It takes real collaboration, vulnerability, being able to share these stories, not keeping them silent, not saying like, oh, that was probably just me. That was probably just my experience. It wasn't just your experience, right? And we have examples of public goods that work. The U.S. postal system has been around forever because you know why?
Yeah, but then they dismantled it.
Exactly. That's why we need to be able to make the rules over this shit, because we can't let white supremacists run our postal service, it turns out, because then they try to suppress our vote. But this is a great example of an agency that was created in order to serve every single person in this nation. Every single person. And it is still the only one.
Social Security too.
Yeah.
Social Security is the only thing that like, not everyone has access to it, but like, it's literally like, that's the thing that my, you know, parents depend on for, like my grandfather lived off of his Social Security checks after he stopped working. His retirement. Like that's all he had to like live his life off of until he died. You know what I'm saying? It was his Social Security check on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
That's a socialist program.
Yeah.
And it's the only guaranteed money that anyone in the workforce has after they stop working. Because essentially what this country tells you is like, if you are not able-bodied and cannot work,
then we don't need you.
We don't need you. Die. figure it out.
Yeah.
You don't deserve to be alive.
And I think we have plenty of people in this nation that are done with that rhetoric, that are done with that understanding. And let's find 100%. Those people. Let's find those people, because they should be running the shit. They should be running all the shit.
Well, that's a huge reason why I talk so much on my platform, because I know that I'm like, you know, I mean, I grew up in this industry 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, whatever, like a pop star. Like I was a legitimate pop star, you know what I'm saying? So I know that a lot of youth gravitated towards me, and a lot of, you know, young women especially, and queer folks, a lot of queer folks, you know what I'm saying? Like just naturally gravitate towards me as a person because of music. So if I have that audience and I have these people like invested in me as a person and in me as an artist, that's why it's so important to me to be talking about all this kind of shit, you know what I'm saying? And having these radical conversations and bursting people's bubbles about what they thought was possible, and like just having imaginative, abolition-based, revolutionary conversations, because it's possible. And I think a lot of it is just lack of exposure, like lack of even thinking that was something that could happen. Like I have had so many kids come up to me and be like, yo, you literally set me on the trajectory of like becoming a lawyer or becoming a this or becoming a that, because I realized, because of all the shit you talk about, that we're fucked. Yeah. You know, and it just motivated a lot of youth, a lot of young kids to really want to study this shit, to want to learn about these systems, and of course some people are trying to do it from the inside, but then there's also amazing radical people that are trying to build a whole new world outside of these systems, where literally it's like an abandoned mall. This is how I envision it. You know what I'm saying? Like while all of those stores are popping and everybody likes that style of clothes, everybody's going to this mall, going to the mall, going to the mall, investing in the mall, spending money at the mall. And then all of a sudden a pandemic hits and we don't have extra cash to spend on clothes. So the mall just closes down because people are investing their money in food and rent and, you know, things that essentials. So it's like that. It's like your money was being spent here. That's what the economy is. It's money spending. Circulation of the money that we have and spending it and keeping it going, you know? So it's like, if we just are like, okay, you know what? This building is a little outdated. Some of the stairs, like bitches have been falling off the stairs. Like, I don't even want to have to deal with suing them. Like, I'm not even gonna step into that building. I'm gonna go to this mall. And then everybody's over here in this mall. We can make a new mall.
Yeah.
We can make a new mall whenever we want.
With new rules.
Yeah. New rules. Exactly. You divest from these motherfuckers. But yeah, anyway. I feel like our conversation's gone in so many different places. I really love that about this show, because it's like the conversations are just all over the place, but so on point. You know what I'm saying? It's so on topic, but so everywhere.
You have good editors, so beautiful.
I hope. Yeah, no, Annabelle's great. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So yeah, what is your vision for like Liberation Generation? Just like what do you envision while you're like, are there any specific like things that you want to see happen? Like I know you're talking about public hospitals. Like, is that something that you would want to get involved in trying to bring back, or like how does it, you know what I'm saying? Like where,
you know, honestly,
the investment happen is just mostly in the people and the work they're doing.
It's twofold. We want to see good people making good decisions, right? My vision is like, let's get some dream defenders as governors, as state attorneys, as, you know, people that are actually running how our economy works. And let's make sure that they have all the tools that they need policy-wise, and know where all the bodies are buried, know all the bureaucratic stuff that they have to undo so that they can be effective. That is our goal, is to have amazing leaders that are opening up all new kinds of possibilities for a new economy. And for a liberation economy. And so I think that's the group, those are the kinds of groups that we're attracting. Those are the kinds of groups that we want to continue to support and roll with. And really, I can imagine a world where people are saying, yeah, these are the guarantees that everybody should have, no matter if you got to this country yesterday or that you've been here, or that you were brought here. These are the things that we guarantee for every person living in this nation.
Yeah. And you know what? The core wound there is that deservability wound.
Yep.
That most of us have. The majority of the collective consciousness has right now, and humanity in general, because of all the pain and because of all the trauma that we've been through together as a collective, that's completely unaddressed, besides individual narrative or community-based narratives. Like, you know, like as a collective though, as an entire human race, what we have all been through has been extremely traumatic. And we all are still in that mentality of, I don't deserve anything just for being alive. I don't deserve anything because I'm here. I have to prove that I deserve to have water, to be fed, to have shelter, to be able to provide a safe home for my kids, to be able to walk down the street safely, and go to the grocery store or a movie theater and not get shut up. You know what I'm saying? Like all of those things is like,
yep.
They convinced us, they brainwashed us into believing that having your basic needs met is not an inalienable right. It is something that has to be gotten, or taken, better yet. You know what I'm saying? So like getting to that, and that goes back to the individual work inside of yourself. Work on your own worthiness. How do you feel? Where do you get your validation from? How can you start to put boundaries up in your life that change that so that your validation comes from within? How can you be better aware of your relationships for what they're teaching you versus what they're doing to you, right? What are they teaching you about yourself and how you feel about yourself? What are they teaching you about what you allow in your life? And if those things are contradictory to what you really want and what you really need, start to create those boundaries, start to move through those feelings, start to understand those feelings and not judge them, right? Because that's something that I do a lot. It's like I get into these places where I think about all these feelings that I have and I judge them so harshly, judge myself so harshly when I don't feel deserving enough, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a whole nother, it's like that self-judgment, that white supremacist in our brain that tells us that we're not good enough, you know?
Yeah.
Kill that dude. Kill him completely. Shoot him up. Get him out your mind. Work on it.
Yeah, leave it, and find other people that will help you leave that behind too, and find
who are
your
on the same
political
tip.
home. Yep, and find your
Amen.
political home so that you have. So once you're starting to circulate all this like good energy, the healing work, that is starting to swell and swarm with other people, right? And it's undeniable, right? We have a governing council member, Gresa Martinez Rosas, who has United We Dream.
I love United We Dream.
They're amazing person, amazing. And she shares that, you know, organizing is a real faith. It's a practice every day. And like any practice, I think it's inside and out, and finding the good people that will help you sustain in these fights, personally and structurally, gold.
Yeah. Filling each other back up through the collective struggle. Because life isn't only about struggle, man.
Exactly.
We got to find joy with each other. We got to find joy even just in the simple fact that we have that collective imagination, that vision together, you know?
That's right.
That's right.
Like, even in the face of, that's what humaning is, right? Just in the face of
that's
death
what humaning
is. Death and
that
destruction.
Is what humaning is.
Yeah.
That is what humaning is, exactly. It's traversing through it all, you know?
Yeah, it's the both and.
Damn. What a beautiful way to end it. That's perfect. Thank you so much for being on with me, Solana. We had such a beautiful conversation. And I look forward to working with you in the future. I hope that we can do some collaborative efforts and
let's do it. We need music
radical
for the movement.
Shit. I got you, honey, all day.
Awesome.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your time and for taking the time to be on this with me.
Yeah, you too. Take good care.
You're such a bright soul. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks. You too. It was a pleasure.
A combo for the gods, honey.
Mark it down.
In collaboration with On the Rise Media, today's episode was produced by Annabelle Garcia Eller and edited by Sam Eller.